Welcome to Chiropractic Roots, the official podcast of the Kansas Chiropractic Association. Here we explore the stories, struggles, and successes of chiropractors across the Sunflower State. In each episode, we interview Kansas DCs to learn how their chiropractic journey began, how their practices took shape, and what lessons they've learned along the way. Whether you're a seasoned professional, a student, or simply chiropractic curious, you're in the right place to hear from the roots of the profession. I'm Dr. Travis Oller, Executive Director of the Kansas Chiropractic Association, the nation's first chiropractic association. Let's get adjusted. Our guest today is Dr. John Wheeler. Dr. Wheeler, welcome to Chiropractic Roots. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
That's a great question, Dr. Travis. Sure. So, first of all, I have to tell you, I think it's an absolute honor that you would even ask to interview me. I feel very honored by that, and I have a lot of admiration and pride and ownership in the KCA, and I owe the KCA a lot. So it's an honor to help you out if this is a help to you, and hopefully to someone that may be watching. There's something in it that can be helpful to them. So yeah. So first and foremost, I am a extremely blessed child of God. I am a husband. I've got a beautiful wife that is just 10 times smarter than I am, 10 times harder worker than I am, and 3 beautiful kids. My oldest is going to be turning 18 later this summer in August. He's quite the athlete, and although I don't see chiropractic in his future, I see a lot of myself in him every day. My middle is 14, and she's got special needs, and that has been another one of God's blessings in that she keeps me on my toes. We're going to be talking chiropractic through this, so let me give it a chiropractic bent right now. We have to connect with our patients. We have to connect from that very first initial visit, and we have to be able to connect every following visit. And she challenges me, that connection. Oh, she's the biggest hugger, lover. That's not what I mean, but I mean compliance and working with her and her parameters to be able to get her to follow my directions. That's God's fun way of challenging me every day. My youngest is my little superstar. She's 12 and a gymnast, and she's level 6 of 10 now. She's been a gymnast since she was just a tyke. She just went down. So she won the state. She didn't get first place at state this year. She got second by just the slimmest of margins. But she got invited to regionals, which was in San Antonio, Texas. So we went to San Antonio. I believe that was February, March. And she nailed it. Just absolutely nailed it. She got first place on bar, first place on beam, or actually it was vault, second and third on the others, and then took best overall. So she's an overall champion, and just the best you can do. Wow. I've got a lot of blessings in my life. My office is phenomenal. I love it. It's an oasis. I've got incredible staff. I've been blessed with incredible staff my whole career. I can think of 2 that I've had to let go. And when I say it that way, I say, hey, you're still a nice person. We've got a very important job to do. This just isn't the right fit for you. I'm going to let you go do awesome things somewhere else. And I don't like that confrontation. Confrontation's not who I am, but I hire personalities. I hire smiles. I hire the joy in the heart, and then develop the rest of it. My number one is Lisa. Lisa's been with me for 18 years now. And I told her if she retired, I have to retire. So you can't quit until I quit. So, she's on the hook. Um, Alicia's getting ready to have a baby. We're all excited about that. Probably, she could have it today. So, but we're taking a little poll in the office with our patients, and we're all kind of settling in on the 7th of July. That would be perfect because it'd be 7/7, and it's the 25th year. You add 2 and 5 together, you get 7. It's going to be so easy for the dad to remember. So, totally thinking the 7th is the best day for her. But who am I? I'm from Ark City. Don't hold that against me. No, Ark City was a great place to grow up. Um, I graduated in 1989 from Ark City High School, and then went to chiropractic college shortly after that. But we'll get into that kind of stuff in a little while. But I've been in Wichita now 20 years. We're in our 30th year of practice. I can't even believe that. It's the days are long, the years are short, and but life is good, and I'm very blessed.
Wow, wonderful. So tell me about your first experience with chiropractic.
Okay, it's a good story, so I'm glad you asked. So it's summertime, just like now. It's summertime, and my brother and I were invited each year to go down to my grandparents on my dad's side, and we would spend a week with them. And they were my fun grandparents. They were the energetic ones. They were the ones that would take us places. We'd hop in the VW Rabbit, if you remember what that one is, and they would take us out. They were from Oklahoma. All my family's from Oklahoma. I mean, I got Okie blood as deep as it gets. They would take us somewhere, typically in Oklahoma, and they lived in Crescent, Oklahoma. At their house where they lived in Crescent, they had this big tree. I'm going to call it an oak tree in the backyard with a tire swing. And what do you do when you're a kid on a tire swing? You wind it up, and then you lean back and you twist and see how fast you can spin, and you get all dizzy and all that kind of stuff. Well, this particular time it developed a swing in the swing, and I clocked my head against the tree. I mean, clocked it. And I had a headache. So we had like 3 days to go before mom and dad came and picked me up. And I had a 3 day headache. It was bad. And grandma did everything she could. I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was just miserable for the next 3 days. So my parents come and get me and my brother, and then they drive us back to Ark City and drove us straight into Dr. Myers' office, BJ Myers. And some of the old timers will remember BJ. And that gets a little fuzzy, but I remember he adjusted my neck, and I remember I did not have a headache when I got home, which was about a 15-minute drive from town. We lived outside of town. That was my first chiropractic experience. That is not the day I found out, or that, hey, I'm going to be a chiropractor someday. That was not the experience. It was just simply, oh, my head feels better. Now what can we go do? Let's go play. Right? So that's my first chiropractic experience. What's interesting is when I get to chiropractic college, there's people that have never been adjusted before. And I'm like, what? How is that? How do you get here and never experience anything remotely similar to what I experienced? So when someone says, well, I don't believe in chiropractic, I kind of look at them like they're a moron, like, what do you mean you don't believe in chiropractic? There's nothing to believe. It's not a religion. It just works. So that's my experience.
Wonderful. Well, that brings us to the next question. When did you decide to become a chiropractor?
It was in my latest of teens. I'm going to say I was 19, maybe touching 20. I was in that, could have been 18, 19. So I've worked hard. My first job it was in a paper route, and then it was, mowing yards, and I was doing as many jobs as I could find until I could get 16. And then I got hired on at Kmart, if you can remember what Kmart is, showing my age again. And I would work there through my high school years. But the side jobs would be like hauling hay, where we would haul alfalfa bales on a hay monster. That was real work. And I got an opportunity to work for Olin Medical in Ark City. Olin Medical, their thrust was really durable medical equipment, wheelchairs, hospital beds. But the main thing that they did was home oxygen. And so anybody who had a lung disease or was needing oxygen for a period of time, I was in charge of going out to their homes, and I would service their oxygen concentrators, replace those D tanks and E tanks with oxygen. Those were just in case scenarios if they had an emergency, their machine failed. And I fell in love with the interaction with patients. I mean, they weren't patients to me; they were just people. I would go to their homes. I'd see them every month. I'd be changing filters on their machines, changing their cannula, and I did that month after month. You get to know people, and I really developed a fondness for that. And I was big time into fitness and working out, and so the wheels just started to click. I was leaning towards something like I knew I wanted to be in business, is what I had kind of pegged myself to be doing. My plans were to continue my associates there, right there in Ark City while I was working. That was at Cali College. It's still there. And then I would go on to either K-State or Oklahoma State was my plan. But this job changed me, and I started talking to the owner, which was the owner of the business was a PA, a physician assistant there in Ark City, and he said, "Well, why don't you consider going into medical school?" No, that's I'm not into that. That's not what I want to do. But maybe physical therapy. He suggested that, and I thought, well, now then, or maybe physical therapy, but maybe chiropractic. So I decided, well, I'll go over and visit with Dr. Myers. Dr. Myers is a family friend, and we went to the same church. We would celebrate Fourth of July stuff together growing up, and so they were more than just a chiropractor to my family. They were family friends, and so I went and visited with him one day, and he, of course, said, "Yes, I think it would be great for you to go to chiropractic college, and I think you need to go to Parker." And I would skip Oklahoma State, I would skip K State. I'd get there as fast as you can. Well, okay, so that's what I did. So I'm not even 20 years of age in starting chiropractic college. And I hope I answered your question because I've kind of forgotten what it is now. How did I become a chiropractor? That was really it. It was just the interaction with those patients. Those poor folks were really struggling to breathe, and I don't know. I just really liked that connection with it. So that really got me moving towards health. Ultimately, I would share this with you. The really the deciding factor there between physical therapy and chiropractic was the opportunity to be in control of my own destiny. I wanted to bridge that like and desire to be my own business owner. And I at that stage, physical therapy was very much under the thumb of the medical profession. And it's certainly different today than it was then, but chiropractic afforded me everything that I was really looking to do from an ownership standpoint, and yet still be able to have touch, contact, connection with patients. No blood.
That's a great story. Thank you for sharing it with us. So you went to Parker in Dallas. When did you
Yeah.
graduate?
So I graduated in 95, 1995, September 11th, 1995. This is coming up on 30 years this year. That date was pushed back a little bit because of an incident that occurred during during my what would be my try three. So I was just I think we had just really started try three, and I had gone in to see our intern. So you'll remember at Parker, try five is when you get to see your students, your fellow younger tribesmen, right? And so I'd gone in to see mine, who ironically also was Dr. Wheeler. I've lost contact with him. He stayed in Texas somewhere to practice, but I was getting up off the table. I had a shirt on just like I have today, and I was just getting up from a side posture adjustment. And he says, "John, what's that bump in your neck?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I have no idea. What are you talking about?" So he pulls a staff doctor over, and they look at it, and they're like, "That's not very good. What is this?" And so, to make an extremely long story short, it was Hodgkin's lymphoma. And Hodgkin's lymphoma, I felt just as good, as I did. I mean, I had no symptoms whatsoever. It took 6 months from the day that I got off that table to the day I got my first treatment. Treatment occurred down in Houston at MD Anderson Cancer Institute. I'd go through chemotherapy, and then later I would go through radiation therapy. Chemo was about 6 weeks long. Radiation was 4 weeks, 4 weeks off, and 4 weeks again every day for 4 weeks. I lived in Houston during that time. So I was able to finish try three, didn't, and then I paused. I did all my treatment, got my clean bill of health, and then came back and um, and started fresh in try four. And for those that didn't go to Parker, try four. Try four is the if you're gonna buckle, try four is the trimester it's gonna happen. You got neurology with Michael Hall, God bless him, but he was hard. Yeah, neuro was tough, but we got through it, and grateful to say, even though I'm not the smartest kid in the class, I got through all those. We didn't fail any classes, and was able to just pick up and go on. Yeah.
That is an amazing story. And I've got to say, I've known you for 25 years and I did not know that about you. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Well, before we leave that, because this is, there's more to that story that I think you have to know, because it shapes who you are. And this is true for every adversity that we go through. We think, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. And at that stage in my life, of course it was. It absolutely was. And yet I look back on that, and I have back on this for years, and I say, thank you, God. That was the best thing you could have done for me, because I have so much empathy for those that are in even remotely similar situations. On some small level, I can connect when they're having to go through that adversity, or their spouse or their child or their parent is having to go through that. And the number one thing I learned, doctor, in that process, because I started off at John Peter Smith Hospital, which is a teaching hospital in Fort Worth. They would later send me down to MD Anderson for treatment. I saw every medical student that, or I should say, they saw me, that was going through their whole system in that 6 month process of staging. I felt very violated multiple times because they're checking everything. And you quickly find out as a patient, when you are the patient, you find out which doctors care, which nurses care, and which ones are just there punching a time clock and checking to see how much longer before they have to leave. They don't have to say it, you perceive it. You know it. I learned that lesson early, and I think there's a I think there's some of our chiropractors that maybe don't have that figured out yet. Because you can't just come in and be in your office, push, 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 see you Tuesday. that ain't gonna do it. You've got to have a loving touch. You've got to have an eye to eye contact, a heart to heart moment. If you want to connect with your patient, I've used that word a lot. Maybe that'll be the theme of our talk here, but that's the big lesson and the big thank you I have for getting to go through that experience. On my 21st birthday, I'll never forget, I'm looking out the window of the hotel that I'm at in Houston, overlooking MD Anderson, just crying my eyes out, thinking, oh, woe is me. And you know what fixed that was because I had been through enough of the radiology classes and bone pathology classes at Parker. They invited me to volunteer while I was doing my radiation therapy at MD Anderson. And they said, well, you've got all day. It's like a 15-minute event. We'll put you at the end of the day. You feel good during the day. You feel horrible at night. So let's schedule you. You can be the last of the day. You can come in and volunteer for our radiology department, which was really just transferring records and checking people in, checking people out. So what fixed that woe is me was here I am 20, 21, and in's coming the parents with the 4-year-old, the 2-year-old, the 8-year-old. It's gratitude. That's what fixed it. It was just, hey, at least I got 20 years. I got those 20 years. That's my mindset at that moment, is like that 4-year-old, they don't even know what they haven't. That's not a good diagnosis. That's not one that's easily fixed. Hodgkin's lymphoma, that's a road speed bump these days. I mean, it was 80% success rate then. It's even better now. But that's what fixes a lot of things is gratitude. So
It's amazing what perspective can give you. It sounds like you really took a lot of adversity and turned it around into gratitude.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Has that
Well, you
changed how
learn.
you, not just your life in general, but has that changed how you see patients and work with patients?
I'd say it does. It does both. It does both. From a life changing standpoint, you recognize that hey, I'm not invincible, and indeed, every day is a gift. Utilize the 24 hours you're given to the utmost. It could be your last. Today could be my last, Travis. I don't know. You don't know. The person's watching this. You don't know. I mean, I just found out this morning that a good colleague friend, in fact, he graduated with me from Parker. Um, he's in Oklahoma. His staff, who's been with him for years, just passed away. She's 45 years of age. I mean, you know what? Life is precious. Every moment. What is it? I mean, it's changed. Yeah. So, from a life standpoint, don't take your days for granted. Don't take people for granted. The number one thing is if you think of someone, particularly like a relative, somebody you just haven't talked to for a while, and they just pop in your head, act upon it. Especially today. I mean, you can just send them a text. Hey, just thinking about you. Hope you're doing great. How often do we like push that aside and move on? Or call that friend you haven't heard from for a while? I do that in the office quite a bit, and it's amazing. I mean, when you're open and your spirit is open and something comes to you. It just happened to me on Monday. For example, Monday, after our morning shift, I actually just went in to wash hands and such, and my painter, Tom the painter, pops into my head. I'm like, I wonder how Tom's doing. I haven't heard from him for a bit. Tom walks in at 3 o'clock. I mean, how many times has that happened to you? It happens to all of us, but
Mhm.
is that, I don't believe in coincidences. I think it's energy at work, and it's cool. It's cool. So from a patient perspective, it's back to my word, connecting, and connecting with them on their level. We have everyone come through our office that's either PhD, or maybe they just they just didn't quite graduate high school, and they're you got an engineer and you've got a laborer. You don't talk to them the same. They communicate different. They need different information, and what's important to them, they just want to feel better. And so results trump all things, but they really don't care how much you know. They just want to know how much you care, and it's absolutely true. So
That seems to be a very common thread among these conversations I'm having with doctors, is that you're not going to affect that patient's life, especially long term, if you don't connect with them each time they walk through your doors.
absolutely, yeah. First visit all the way to the last visit, and you never know when that last visit is. Oh, that makes me so sad. We had a situation where a patient got off my table, got in their car, left the parking lot, and entering into the road was struck by a dump truck and was killed in front of our office. And oh, it still weighs heavy on me. And I thought, um, that was that was the last touch. So I don't know. I don't mean to get too heavy, and I sure don't want to cry on camera. So, but you never know when you're going to get to see that patient last. Always leave on a good note. Never break a branch. Keep channels open. Forgive frequently and quickly. Never hold a grudge. I could go on, but you get the point.
And that's great advice for life in general. So,
Yeah.
yes. So you graduated Parker. Do you know how much you paid for school then?
Well, yeah, like a bazillion dollars. What do you mean? Um, huh. So are you asking specifically, like, what was it per trimester?
If you know, I find the spread quite funny. One doc we've talked to paid, I think, 150 a month, versus docs I know that are graduating with $300,000 in debt.
Oh, I think I can answer. I mean, so it did go up while I was in, right? So it seemed like every time you would go in to pay your tuition, it would go up. But I feel like we started around four and we ended around 5,000 a trimester uh, by the time I was done. Leaving college was roughly 150 to 180, if I remember right. Uh, it was it was a lot of money then. It's a lot of money now, and I didn't work during those first few trimesters. I had some peers that did, and they got through it. So I'm sure I could have, if the opportunity was, if I'd have pursued that opportunity a little bit harder. But dude, I was doing good just to get through school. I got to be honest with you. I'm not the best student. My wife will agree. I'm not the smartest person on the planet. She doesn't tease me too much about it, but we have a good ritual. Every night we sit down together and we play Wordle together. Now I don't know if anybody knows what Wordle is, but she tells me how often I misspell words, and it's really comical, frankly. But I got through school. That's the main thing. I did work a part-time job, kind of in the end when we got into clinicals, because certainly I did have a lot more free time. The study was not nearly as intense at that point. It was enough to just give me a little cash in my pocket, but for the most part, no, it didn't help with any of the big big money that it took to get through school. So
Yeah. The way the cost of school has skyrocketed over the years is unfortunate, but It's good to see these numbers and you can compare with other doctors. Where did you first open up in practice at?
Also, an interesting story. So straight out of chiropractic college, I wasn't sure where I was going. I had gone to visit multiple states. Arizona was on the list. Arkansas was on the list. Texas was very much in play. Kind of said, been in Kansas, done that. Probably not going back there. Kind of ruled that one out. And so I wasn't sure where I was going, and I had just missed because in at that time, Texas boards was only once a year, and so just the way graduation fell, it was going to be another. I think it was like January, February before I could take their boards, and this was September. So there was a job opening at an office called Klesmet Chiropractic in Garland, Texas, which would be Um, so Wichita, it would be like maybe working in Newton, okay, a town that's a suburb, but it's not like right in Dallas. In Klesmet Chiropractic, it was Dr. Tom Klesmet, Dr. Ann Klesmet, and Sandy Biggs, also Dr. Sandy Biggs. So those three doctors, it was a Gonstead practice that was where we had one big room and then feeder rooms for those Gonstead doctors. That'll make sense. These little cubbies where people could gown into a top that would open up, and that's kind of how Gonstead was back in those days. They needed a staff doctor. I had time and the knowledge, and so I interviewed and was accepted. And it was not a glamorous job. I was a glorified CA, a back office CA, where I was doing therapies and I would do exams and I would do X-rays and I would do reports, and it was work because with the three doctors humming, they kept an exam doctor really humming. If I wasn't putting somebody on therapy, I was doing an exam, taking X-rays. I was taking X-rays all the time. So I got really good. I got really good at that stuff, right? Um, it was a blessing. It was work, hard work. They came to me once and said, okay, well, you're doing such a great job. We want to offer you either a raise or a day off. I'm like, day off, day off. Because I was working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning till 1. And we were there from 8 to usually 6:30. I started at 8, ended about 6:30, and then I would have to drive to Richardson, was about another 30 minutes. And so, yeah, day off, that would be great. But I could see that wasn't going to be a long-term situation. I worked there for 9 months, and in that 9 months, I came back to Kansas because I figured out, you know what, this insurance stuff, Texas and Florida, they kind of set the pace on insurance, and I'm figuring out how that's all working here in Texas. So I think I could come back to Kansas and maybe have a little leg up. So I started looking at Kansas. I came back. I went to the spring convention in Lawrence, Kansas, probably 1996, and met as many people as I could possibly meet, get some feelers out there. And sure enough, I had a hit. Somebody called me and said, hey, there's a doctor in Manhattan that's looking for an associate. I was like, I don't really want an associateship, but I'll come talk to him. So we talked, and then I actually came up and visited. He was goofy. I mean, I'm just honest. He was kind of a goofy guy. But we went to lunch, and he says, well, I want to offer you 80/20. I'm like, oh no, here we go. You keep 80, I get 20%. This is what we hear about in school, right? These horrible associates. No, no, no. You keep 80, I'll keep 20. Okay, so he's going to keep the 20% of all production. And he says, and when I have to be out, you get 100% of whatever you see. Oh, okay. Well, maybe you're not so goofy after all. So I literally loaded everything up in the Ryder truck and drove it all the way up here to Manhattan, Kansas. I'm in there for 4 days, and on Thursday afternoon, he's got to be gone. And I'm seeing his patients on Thursday afternoon, and the staff comes to me and says, "Gosh, Dr. Wheeler, if we'd have known you'd been so nice, we would have told you this in the first place. You know, he's under investigation for tax fraud. He's under investigation for sexual harassment. He's under investigation for the." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm out of here." So I gathered everything and got out of my office. But then I didn't know what I was going to do. So I started roofing houses with my uncle who lived in Manhattan. And there is no better motivator than roofing houses in August in Kansas than roofing houses. So I typed up a letter and I went to every chiropractor in Manhattan and just said, "Hey, just looking for a place to sublease, if I could just sublease in you." And one person took me up on that offer, and that was Mark Hadisall. And to this day, Mark is a great friend. He's just he was a good mentor. He's 10 years older than I am, so he had been in practice long enough that he was a good help to me, and just really loved his family. And it was everything happens for a reason. Yeah, it's one of those speed bumps in life. God's got a plan. You just can't see what it is. So it worked out. I don't
That's,
recommend roofing houses. It's just
no,
it's not for me.
that is an interesting story. Again, another one I hadn't heard from you. It was in Dr. Hadisall's office where I met you for the first time. And he was one that I saw when I was at K-State. And
Yes.
after I came back to Kansas, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do and decided to go visit him. And you were working there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great connections. It's been great. Um, you've answered a lot of the questions that I have listed out that I wanted to ask. So we're going to skip around a little bit. Um, how do you stay involved in your local community?
Mm. Okay, so that's an interesting question. Um, so in my local community, my definition, but for number one, I don't even live in this area in Wichita. I live in a beautiful home and property out between Benton and Towanda. We've got acreage out there and ponds, and it's definitely my oasis away from my office oasis. And in our so I think probably the best answer to that is through our church. One of the things I did when I came back, so I'm clearly not in Manhattan. We could tell you that story at some point, but I'm in Wichita, and really my connections have been formed around the church that I chose to start going to here in Wichita when I first came back. I've got such great friends, and at that stage it was the late college years singles group that was together, and we've all grown and matured together, and we've got families now, and our kids, and it's just really that's my community of the people that I know, and that's how in fact, we've got a party coming up for 4th of July, and we've got them all coming and bringing their families, and now their kids are wanting to bring their friends, and it's just a great thing to just stay connected with those friends. In our local community, I did a lot of things to get to know people when I came to Wichita. You just have to meet people. I mean, you cannot go get in your office and put a sign on the door that we're open and expect to see anybody. They don't even know who you are. And once people meet you, they're either attracted or they're not to you. Um, and so the more people you meet, the more people that will begin to come see you. So from a community standpoint, I mean, I'm at that stage in practice where I just don't do that anymore. Referral groups, tips groups, civic groups. I used to be heavily involved in that, and I really just time is the most valuable commodity I have. It's the one I have the least of, and it's the one I hold dearest. And so if I've got time, it's it's going back into building me up for Monday morning to be able to take care of those patients. It's going back in and investing in my kids and in my relationship with my wife. My mother lives here in Wichita, and it's helping take care of her. It's calling her in the morning. I talked to her this morning. So my community has kind of gotten smaller, to be honest with you, as my years have gotten longer, or as I get older. But that's how I stay involved, is staying connected with those that I have a connection with, and the rest are just attracted to this office through the referrals and word of mouth of other people.
Speaking about being involved, you got involved with the KCA fairly early in practice. Can you tell me about what motivated you to do that and why you still remain active in the KCA?
Yeah. So if we go back to Parker, you'll remember SACA was pretty popular, and I can honestly tell you, I never went to a single meeting, not a one. I had no interest in politics at all. That made no sense to me. So I I got that first job with Tom Klesment, and Tom was very much a kind of a dictator of a guy. Do this, do that. Don't ask questions. And he's like, "You remember the TCA?" Well, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't think so. You need to be a member of the TCA, Texas Chiropractic Association. Okay, here, sign this, send him a check. Okay. So that was my involvement. And he got that political, and I shouldn't call it politics. The Kansas Chiropractic Association isn't politics. They represent us to the politicians. I would agree with that. But work with me here. That's kind of what it felt like. And so I became a member of the TCA. Didn't really participate in them, but he started it. Then now I'm with Mark Hattasol. Well, Mark Hattasol is big time into politics. In fact, he was the mayor of Manhattan at one point and has been on all sorts of different boards. And let me tell you, I got all kinds of political knowledge and information from Mark Hattasol. So he's the one. He's the one that gets all the credit to pushing me into the KCA at an early age, not just through membership, but being active and doing something. I remember writing a letter to, well, so back then we had a journal, and the journal would clearly list who was your director, alternate director, secretary, treasurer, uh, and so I wrote them all a letter, just to, hey, if I can ever be of help, let me know. Well, guess what? They took me up on it. They quickly took me up on it. I mean, I was on every committee at some point. I've been on every committee. The biggest one was the Carrier Advisory Committee and the Medicare Committee, because at that stage, this would have been early. This would have been late 1990s, right? So 97, 98, 99, somewhere in there. The Medicare policy was getting rewritten, and I, being on the Medicare committee, Rich Miller was out of Nebraska, and Mark Penn out of Topeka, and I were going to Topeka and meeting down with Blue Cross Blue Shield and renegotiating the Medicare uh, guidelines. So love them or hate them, I was part of that. I will say you no longer are restricted to 12 visits. You're now whatever is considered medically necessary. So love it or hate it, that's partly my fault. But Mark Penn, Rich Miller, they were just awesome. It was I was a little fish in a big sea, and I learned a lot from those guys. But then I got the joy of going around and teaching this district by district by district in the state. That was ridiculous. I felt like I was in a sea of piranhas, my friend. I grew up real quick doing that type of work, but it seems like a lifetime ago. But I will say Mark Luce out of Salina, or he was in Salina. I think he's moved now. Mark Luce was a good mentor he was my, when I was then, at some point I got elected to the alternate director position on the board. And that was a big deal. It was a big deal to get that position. And Mark was the director, and Mark taught me a lot and really helped me learn what it was to be a board member, the importance of a board member position, how important even an alternate director is, and how much they can help shape the way the KCA flows and moves. Jerry DeGrado, remember he was president when I was a director, and Jerry to this day is still a great friend and a great mentor. And of course, he's on the Healing Arts Board now, past president of the Healing Arts Board. So I've been blessed to know some really awesome chiropractors that are just awesome people. Yeah, the KCA experience has been. I mean, I really do. I encourage the young people to get involved in the KCA. I maybe would caution them to not do the John Wheeler thing, which is like dive in with both feet and and allow it to consume you, because it can, or at least at that time it could. I think you find yourself a committee, you get something important to do, and you contribute in some way, shape, or form, and at minimum, you're a member. Don't do anything. Just send your check in. Just be a member. That's a whole other discussion, doctor. But to not be a member of the Kansas Chiropractic Association and practicing in the state of Kansas, I don't understand it. It's just it's irrational to me. I think if you don't want to be involved, okay, that's fine, but you should at least be a member. And no one will ever convince me that their argument about not being a member is a good one. It's just don't have it. So if you don't like the way something's going, you get in and you fix it, and you get in and you change it. That's my 2 cents.
Yes.
I'm off my soapbox. Yeah. Off my soapbox. Sorry.
Well, it really is true. If you don't like what we're doing, get involved, because what we're doing is what the members want.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Great. So moving on, you're a busy guy, but you've also said that you've kind of slowed down with what you do outside of the office to build it. But how do you maintain your work-life balance?
Work and life balance. Okay. Well, first of all, I've got the best part-time job there is. I mean, I work a whopping 21 hours a week. We work we work we work by shift. We have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're here all day, so 6 hours of patient time. And then on Thursday morning, just in the mornings. When I first started, and this is all by design, when I first started, I would work Monday through Friday, but on Friday we would end at 1. And then when we got our volume up to where we were seeing consistently over 100 a week, we would narrow those hours a little bit. So now we were just there for a couple hours on Friday. And we got it up over 200 a week. We just dropped Fridays altogether. And then, over 300, compress the Thursday a little bit. And when you compress your hours, meaning you're available to care for your patients, you can't sacrifice service or you'll just drop your numbers. So your skill level, is what determines your number of hours, You can't come to work tired and do what I do. You can't come to work uh, thinking about the project that you want to accomplish this weekend or the vacation you've got coming up, the infinite number of things that can get in our mind and detract from what we're doing in the moment. That if that that will be a rate limiting step. I remember, so there was a period of time not that long ago. We had a small group of us chiropractors here in the Wichita area. We'd get together for lunch every week, and we'd talk shop. And we just met at it was actually like at a hotel restaurant, totally dead. Nobody's there. We had the place to ourselves, and it was perfect. It was not the best food, but it was good enough. And we would meet and we would talk. And I remember kind of the new kid on the block speaks up one day. He says, we'll call him Tom. Tom says, "Hey, enough of all that. I just want to know, how do I get a busload of new patients this afternoon?" And I looked at him. I paused for a second. I'm like, "Tom, you couldn't handle it if a bus of new patients showed up." And he stopped and he thought. He's like, "All right, you're right. Go ahead." It's and it's true. It's true. I couldn't either, right? I mean, we all have a limit to what we can do without sacrificing service. Whether if we're talking patient volume now. How many people can you help in an amount of time? So to answer your question in the longest way I possibly can, I recreate in my time off. I invest in my family in my time off. I invest in myself in my time off. When I'm outside the office, I'm outside the office. If I'm thinking about the office outside the office, there's a problem. And if I'm thinking about anything outside the office when I'm in it, there's a bigger problem. So I think that's what I do is I take care of what needs to be taken care of outside of office hours. So when I'm in the office, I'm totally there for whoever presents themselves. When the doctor is ready, the patients appear. And if you're not ready and they appear, guess what? The universe will fix that for you. He will never do that again. You will be months and months before you get that busload of new patients to show up. So prepare in your downtime because we all have ebbs and flow, right? We all have those, our best days, and then we have our days where I wonder where everybody's at today. Well, that's the day you sharpen your pencils and you sharpen your knives and you prep with your staff and you train. And if you're not doing that already, the down days are the days to do it, right? So anytime you have an opportunity, well, I mean, we've had some funky weather this year, right? We have had, I mean, most recently the thunderstorms, but you'll remember the beginning of the year we had snowstorms, so we had ice days, and you're lucky to see four patients. I mean, unless they had a Jeep and four-wheel drive, they weren't coming to see us here in Wichita. So what did we do? Well, we worked on our procedures. We worked on how do we handle this situation and that situation. We worked on the odd situations, and you hone your craft, you develop your skill, so that when the bus shows up, you can handle it.
That is great advice. So, on to one more uncomfortable question, or at least I consider it uncomfortable for myself. So I feel weird asking other doctors this, but do you have an exit strategy?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. So I'm 54. I'm 30 years in practice. I have, I don't want to call it strategy because that would imply it's already developing. I have an exit vision. I have an exit vision, and I'll describe it. My exit vision is number one. I don't consider my office my 401k, right? I'm not going to sell my practice and make a million and go to Cabo and live happily thereafter. I will go to Cabo, but I'm not going to live there happily ever after. My vision is because the practice has value. I'm not. There's no debate in that, but I want my child, this office, my baby, my my beautiful little baby. I want this to continue to have life, and I want it to continue to thrive when I step away. So my vision is that the doctor that is in an equal or similar um, moral and personality uh, compatible, like a marriage, two people coming together. I want to be compatible with that next person. I want to be able to find someone who has good hands, a great heart, an empathetic mind and soul that can relate to people. I want someone who cares, and I want them to be able to come in and start to take over while I start to reduce out and and fade out over a period of time. I think is the most reasonable way to do it. And I can tell you, if you're watching this video and you think that sounds interesting, and I'm not here to make $1 million. What I'm here to do is sell an office that's at a reasonable price that really fits. Teach what I know, teach what I do, and allow them to be them, but hopefully follow some of the things that has made this a great and successful office in the first place. And so, yeah, a doctor that wants to come in, reinvent the wheel. Oh, I'm going to do it my way, which is me when I got out of school. I mean, we all are, right? We're going to do it. We're going to bravado. Yeah, those first 6 years were pretty tough. I can remember sitting in school. Oh, if I can just make it to 10 years, I'll have it made. Well, I remember when I got to my 10-year anniversary, I was like, dang, I've got a long ways to go. 10 years, I should have said 20. So, but, you know, I think a lot of times we can get fixated on things that are not. Let me back up and say it this way. You pick a number for your day. For some people, they're just happy as heck that they saw 10 people that day, and then others 100 a day. Whatever your number is, when you fall short of that Yaha number, it's so easy to get down on yourself. Like, oh, we missed that goal. We didn't hit that collection point, or we didn't see that many new patients, or we didn't see any whatever. You lose the fact that, well, yeah, but I did see 10. I saw 10 today. Or yeah, I saw 96 today. There's 96 people I got to help feel better, and 96 people I impacted their life. I didn't hit my 100, I didn't hit my 50, whatever your number is. I'm not focused on numbers, but we have to quantify it in some way. So we all would just want to help as many people as we can, or at least that's my goal. And sometimes I think we get lost in the numbers, and we focus on what we want to achieve, but not necessarily what we did achieve. There's so many successes. You never get there, is my point. In practice, you never get there. When I got to that 10-year mark, I'm like, oh, I'm not there yet, whatever there was in my mind, but I had accomplished so much. And so to the new doctor who's getting started, you you count your successes on what you've done, by your production, not what you haven't. So there. How's that?
That is a great answer, and I appreciate it. Last one, fun question. If you weren't a chiropractor, what would have you done?
If I wasn't a chiropractor, what would I have done? Well, um, it depends on what stage of life I was at. So in those early days, when I was 18, 19, trying to decide what I was going to do, I would have gone on, like I said earlier, probably K-State, Oklahoma State to work on a business degree. And then where would that take me? God only knows. What I enjoy as my life has progressed, I enjoy outside. I mean, I could be a fish and game warden. That'd be fun. I could be a landscape architect. I love that stuff. Um, about 10 years ago, this almost cost me my marriage flippantly, not really, but she warned me, you ever do this again, you're going to need to get a new wife. I bought a bulldozer. I bought a bulldozer and I didn't tell her I was going to do it. And that was a mistake. I, I, I apologized anyway, so I've never bought a bulldozer since, but I built a pond and I love that kind of stuff. I love the dirt. I love outside. So I don't know, fish and game warden, operator, something, something like that.
That might be the funniest story I've got out of somebody yet. So thank you for sharing. Dr. Wheeler, thank you for joining us today on Chiropractic Roots. Is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah. Well, just one thing. Just one thing. If I could ever be of help to anybody, my door is always open. And if I could give just some free advice to particularly the younger docs or the newly established doctors, please don't go live on an island. Please don't seclude yourself. Please. It's the fastest way to, well, let's say it this way. It's the slowest way to build your skill. It's the slowest way to build your practice. I would highly encourage you to be be aggressive and connect. I mean, just reach out to doctors that are in your area. You're going to find the vast majority are going to be open and receptive and want to help. There's bad apples in every profession. You pick any profession, whether it be attorneys, doctors, lawyers, um, accountants, chiropractors. There's great ones, and then there's ones you wish you just picked a different profession so they weren't in yours. But the vast majority are going to want to do what they can for you. I'm a firm believer that there's way more spines than there are chiropractors. We're never going to run out of people needing to help. Just this morning, I had one new patient, only one. He's 76 years of age. He's never been to a chiropractor before. Guess what? I'm his best chiropractor. I love the fact that when the new patient comes into your office, you get to set the tone for his perception of our profession forever. And if he has a good experience, if you take good care of him, we're not expecting to heal them on the first visit, but if you can even give them a little bit of relief, even if you can just give them hope, you have accomplished your goal, doctor. And take it one patient at a time, one patient at a time. Love them. And I don't mean gushy gushy. I mean honest to God, deep in your heart, soul to soul. You are a human. I am a human. I will do everything I possibly can to help you get better. If you're a new doctor, take time to go research what their particular issue is. Go above and beyond the office visit. You'll have a thriving practice. You start doing stuff like that. So, lastly, um, Dr. Oller, I just appreciate you. I appreciate you more than you know. I've known you for years, just like you said, all the way back to sorry, Dr. Hadassal's office. I've known you through Parker with Councilman and Stigall, and those were good early days when you were first getting started that I got to know you. And you've just done fantastic things for our profession that we can never really, as doctors of Kansas, if they don't know how much you've invested in our profession through the years, you're one of the top. You're at the top. So I greatly appreciate you. Thank you for all your effort and all that you do. And to all those that serve on the board, we appreciate you and keep up all the good work.
Thank you for tuning in to Chiropractic Roots, brought to you by the Kansas Chiropractic Association. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow chiropractor or student. To learn more about the KCA and our mission to support chiropractic in Kansas, visit kansaschiro.com. Until next time, stay grounded, stay growing, and keep adjusting.